Take a look at today's assignment. We're working on finding equivalent ratios. Here's what we're going to do. I'll get you started. After that, I encourage you to pause the video and try some on your own. But if you're having trouble with that, you can just spend the whole time watching the video and taking notes. All right? So finding equivalent ratios. A group of 6 hikers are preparing for a 1-week trip. All of the group's supplies will be carried by hikers in backpacks. The leader decides that each hiker will carry a backpack that is proportional to all the other hikers' weights. This means that the heaviest hiker would carry the heaviest load. The table below shows the weight of hikers in backpacks. So let's just review. There are 16 ounces in a pound. That's going to be important for when we convert pounds and ounces. For example, 1 pound, 2 ounces into a mixed number in just pounds. So as a refresher, the way I would do this, knowing that there are 16 ounces in each pound, that means 1 pound and 2 ounces is the same as the mixed number 1 and 2/16 of a pound. Now 2/16, those are both even, so I could simplify that to 1/8. So this is the same as 1 and 1/8 pounds. I'll leave this one to you. For now, let's complete the table by finding the missing amounts of weight by applying the same ratio. So we have to figure out what the ratio is first. What I would suggest is not actually simplifying these numbers yet. The reason being, if we want to give our later weights in pounds and ounces, it's easier to leave them in 16ths. So let's not worry too much about simplifying, especially since we know we're allowed to use a calculator. So the hiker's weight, 152 pounds and 4 ounces. As a mixed number, I'd write that 152 and 4/16 pounds. I do need to write everything in either all ounces or all pounds, and it's going to be easier to stick with pounds. The backpack weight, 14 pounds, 8 ounces, so 14 and 8/16 pounds. What I want to do is I want to find a constant that's going to allow me to jump from column to column. Let's start by finding the total weight. That's pretty easy. In fact, you can definitely do that on your own. So in order to do that, I need to add these two mixed numbers. So I'll take 152 and 4/16 plus my next number, which is 14 and 8/16. And I get 166 and 3/4. So again, now I do have to do some conversion because it would be most helpful to have that in pounds and ounces. So 3/4, if I want that denominator to be 16, I'm going to have to multiply by 4. So to keep my fraction equivalent, I'll multiply my numerator by 4 right now as well. And I see that that's a little dark for you on the screen, so I'll go over that in a darker ink, or a little light for you on the screen originally. Sorry. So 3 times 4 gives me 12. 4 times 4 is 16. So that means that this hiker's total weight, his body plus his backpack, is going to be 166 pounds and 12 ounces. Okay, so you can figure out this next one on your own. I won't figure that one out for you. It's just adding. The tricky part is when we get down here to the hiker's weight and the backpack weight. All right, now we just have one value and we need to figure out another. So we need to figure out a constant of proportionality. So as a reminder, you do this, you don't need me. In order to do that, we need to find a constant of proportionality between the hiker's weight and the backpack weight. We know that this relationship is proportional because our paragraph up here told us that. So what we need to do is divide. So let's take the hiker's weight divided by the backpack weight. So the hiker's weight, once again, is 152 and 4/16. The backpack weight was 14 and 8/16. So divided by 14 and 8/16. The number I get is 10.5. So let's think about what that means. I'm going to be dividing in one direction and multiplying in the other direction. My hiker's weight is a bigger number. So that means if I start at my hiker's weight and I want to get to my backpack weight column, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this number and divide it by 10.5. That constant of proportionality should remain the same for the whole table. So if I take a look down at the bottom half of my table, or sorry, I'm just writing this at the bottom. It doesn't have to be written at the bottom. But that means if I'm going from the backpack weight to the hiker's weight, so the other direction, to move right, I divide it by 10.5. So to move left, I'll multiply by 10.5. Please do write these on your table because in case we forget, they'll come into play. We can also find a constant of proportionality for the relationship between the backpack weight and the total weight. So let's do that now. It doesn't matter which way we divide, but I'm going to say it's probably easier to divide the bigger number by the smaller number. So let's take 166 and 12 ounces, so 166 and either 3/4 or 12/16. We'll divide that by the backpack weight, 14 pounds and 8 ounces, so 14.5 or 14 and 8/16. When I divide this, I get 11.5, and I know my screen's kind of hard to see. So what that means is my constant of proportionality between the second two columns is 11.5. So let's look here. If I want to go from the backpack weight to the total weight, I'm getting bigger. So that total weight is 11.5 times as big. So to go from backpack to total weight, I will multiply by 11.5. In the opposite direction, if I want to go backwards, I'll divide by that same constant. So to go backwards, I'll divide by 11.5. All right, so we figured out two constants of proportionality for this table. We can actually fill out the rest of the table knowing only this, but just for practice, I'd like us to find the third constant of proportionality. So let's take a look. We know the relationship between the hiker weight and the backpack weight. We know the relationship between the backpack weight and the total weight. Let's find the relationship between the hiker's weight and the total weight. So we're going to use the same strategy. We're going to take these two numbers and divide them. I'm going to say let's take the bigger number divided by the smaller number. So 166 and 12/16 divided by 152 and 4/16, not 14, sorry. I get 1 and 2/21. I know, again, my screen is probably pretty hard to see. 1 and 2/21. So that means, since I'm getting a little bigger when I go from hiker's weight to total weight, to go in this direction, I'll multiply by 1 and 2/21. And I'm noting it at the bottom of my table to go in my other direction. I'll divide by that same constant. So I'm supposed to be filling in my table, figuring out different hikers' weights and backpack weights, but I haven't actually done a lot of that yet. I've just done a lot of talking about my table. Before I fill out any more of my table, let's just confirm that we have the right numbers by looking at the next line. So what this is telling us is that if I take my hiker's weight and I divide by 10.5, I should get my backpack weight. So let's go ahead, think about this hiker's weight as a mixed number. So I'll say, let's not worry about simplifying, just 107 and 10/16 pounds. And I know that 10 pounds and 4 ounces is 10 and 4/16 pounds. So what I'm saying is that if I take this number and divide it by 10.5, I should get that next number, 10 and 4/16, which is the same as 10 1/4. So I'd like you, please, to try that on your calculator right now. So 107 and 10/16 divided by 10 and 1/2. Did you get the same number? Hopefully you did. 10 and 1/4, which is the same as 10 and 4/16. So that's how we're going to figure out the rest of this table. Let's go ahead and look at the next one together. 129 pounds and 15 ounces. So we'll think of that as 129 pounds and 15/16 of another pound. Now it's only in pounds. To find the backpack weight, we'll divide that number by 10.5. So 129 and 15/16 divided by 10 and 1/2. I get 12 3/8. Now I do want you to convert this back into pounds and ounces. So 12 3/8 pounds. Think about what that 3/8 means. 3/8, if I want to change it to 16ths, 8 times 2 is 16. So I'm going to multiply 3/8 by 2/2. 3 times 2 is 6. So that's the same as 6/16. So if I write out this number as just pounds and ounces, 12 stays the same, so 12 pounds, and then I have 6 ounces, 6/16 of another pound. To find my total weight, I could either add these two and write it there, or I could take this number and multiply by 11.5, or I could take my hiker's weight and multiply by 1 2/21. Either way, I should get the same number. I'm going to let you worry about adding them because you guys know how to add those numbers. All right? I'll work through just these 3 boxes, and you finish the rest of this on your own. If you are comfortable at this point finishing the rest of this worksheet on your own, feel free to pause the video and keep going at your own pace. If you'd like help, please just watch along and I'll give you all the answers except for that total weight column because I know you can all figure that out on your own. All right. So 6 pounds and 4 ounces. Or sorry, 68 pounds and 4 ounces. 6 pounds would have been a very small hiker. 68 pounds and 4 ounces is going to be the same as 68 and 4/16 pounds. According to my guide up here, I need to divide by 10.5 to get my backpack weight for this hiker. So I'll do that now. I'll take my calculator, 68 and 4/16 divided by 10 and 1/2, and I get 6.5. So I'll write that as 6.5 pounds, and I want my answer in just pounds and ounces. So remember that 1/2 times 8/8 will give us 8/16. So that means 1/2 of a pound must be 8 ounces. So I'm talking about 6 pounds, 8 ounces. If I start with the backpack weight and I would like to find the hiker weight, all I need to do is work backwards. So now I know 8 pounds and 12 ounces, so that's going to be 8 and 12/16 of a pound. In order to find the hiker's weight, I need to multiply that by 10.5. So I'm going in this other direction, and I'm saying times 10.5. So 8 and 12/16 times 10 and 1/2 is 91 7/8. So I'm talking about 91 7/8 pounds. And I know I want that as pounds and ounces. So 7/8, to convert that to a denominator of 16, multiply by 2/2. And I get 14/16 of a pound, or in other words, 14 ounces. So the hiker must weigh 91 pounds, 14 ounces. And the very last problem, starting with 10 pounds and working backwards. Once again, since I'm going to a larger number, I'm going to multiply by that constant of proportionality, by that 10.5. So I'll take 10 pounds, which I don't need to change to a mixed number, and multiply by 10 and 1/2. And I get 105 pounds with no fraction. So that's a pretty easy thing. I don't have to convert any pounds and ounces. Just taking 105 pounds.